All right, let's continue this. Part 2. So number 12, customers in ice cream shop took a survey. The results showed that 144 customers rated the shop as being very satisfactory. This number represented 45% of the total number of customers who took the survey. What was the total number of customers who took the survey? So let's see. 45% of the total number of customers. What was the total number? So we're looking for the total. So we're looking for the total here. And it looks like it's very satisfactory. So very satisfactory is our score. And it looks like 144 rated very satisfactory. So 144, which is 45% out of 100. Remember, it's part over whole. Part over whole equals percent over 100. So don't forget that. So we're trying to find our total. It looks like there's no relationship right now, so we're going to go ahead and simplify 45 over 100 and see if we can find a relationship that goes in 144. So if I were to divide both of these by by 9, actually let's go by 5. So 5 would be, I don't know why I said 9, divided by 5. 45 divided by 5 is 9. 100 divided by 5 is 20. Divided by 5. It looks like that's simplified. Most likely 144 will go into 9, otherwise it's a pretty tricky one. So let's figure out and see if 144 can be divided by 9. So 144 divided by 9, most likely it will be, because we're going to try to go this way. So let's see if we can. Let's hope we get lucky. So 144 divided by 9, and what do you know? 14 minus 9 is 5. 9 times 6 is 54. So it worked out. So in order to get to a bigger fraction from 9 over 20, we're going to be multiplying by 16. 16. So 20 times 16. And 20 times 16 is going to be 16 times 2. Which is 32, but let's go and work it out. So 6 times 0, 6 times 2 is 12. And then, what do you know? 320. So 320 total students were in our survey. So 320. And that makes sense, because half of it would be 288. And obviously, it's a little bit more than that. So, all right, let's keep going. Number 13, which model represents -5 plus -2? So when we're doing it on a number line, we want to start at 0. When I have -5, we're going to start at -5. That's our starting point. So 0 to -5 is going to be our start. So 0 to -5, this looks good. This is 0 to 2, so that's wrong. 0 to 2 is wrong. 0, no, we don't start at -5 and go to 0. We actually go from 0 to -5, so that's wrong. This one looks right. And then it says plus and -2. So when we're adding -2, we're going to actually keep going more negative. When we're adding -2, we're not going to be adding 2. This is actually plus 2, not -2, so that's wrong. So our answer is going to be C. C. All right, number 14. Which statement about 3 multiplied by 2/3 must be true? So if I'm multiplying by something smaller than 1, my answer is going to be less than 3. Okay? If I multiply anything smaller than 1, but let's work it out just in case. So 3 over 1 times 2/3 is going to be 6/3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So it looks like our answer is going to be C. The product is between 2/3 and 3. All right, number 15. Mrs. Gonzalez asked her students to conduct a survey that would yield variability. Which survey topic below would produce the most variability? So obviously we need to know what variability means. Variability means basically that the higher the variability, the more answer choices you'll have, or the more possible answers you'll have. So a survey asking sixth graders their age, most likely there's only going to be a couple answers. Maybe 3 different answers, but not more than 2. A survey asking students in which clubs they participate, now you're going to have a lot of answers. So who knows, maybe 15, however many clubs there are that 6 students can take. So maybe 10 to 20, I don't know how many clubs there are, but there's more variability in B than A. A survey asking students if they ride the bus, that's either going to be yes or no. Yes or no, so there's only a couple answers for that one. And finally, a survey asking students how many class periods they have. So that one's not very, that one everybody has the same amount. So it looks like the most variability or the most possible answer choices is going to be B. B. So make sure you study what variability means. All right, number 16. A club sold standard and premium memberships. The graph shows the number of each type of membership sold over the last 4 weeks. Which statement is supported by the information in the graph? All right, let's try to get this out of the way. Okay. All right, so the number of premium memberships sold during week 4 was 75% more than the number of premium memberships sold during week 1. 75% more than the premium memberships sold during week 1. Well, let's see. So week 4 we have 95, and week 1 we have 20. So it looks like there's a difference of 75. Not necessarily 75%, but 75 more. So it's 75 more. 75 more. The total is, it looks like 115 students out of those. So 75% more would not make sense in this case because it would need to be out of 100 students, and it's more than 100. So remember, our part here is the change, how much it changes, and then our total would be however many students that were premium on week 1 and week 4. So in this case, it'd be 115, which does not equal 75%. It does not equal 75%. So we know it's not A. The total number of memberships sold during week 1 was equal to the total number of memberships sold during week 2. That should be pretty easy. So week 1, we have 55 plus 20. So in that case, there's 75. Week 2, we have 45 plus 25. And in this case, 45 plus 25 is 70. So that one's not true. 75 does not equal 70. All right, let's look at C. The number of premium memberships sold during week 3 was 2 times the number of premium memberships sold during week 2. So premium memberships during week 3 is 50. So premium is 50. So if it's 2 times week 2 would need to be 25. And it looks like it is. Let's see, week 3 was 50. 50 is 2 times 25. So it looks like our answer is going to be C, but let's double check, make sure D is wrong. The total number of memberships sold during week 4, total number of memberships would be 95 plus 60, so 155. 155. Let's see, is that going to be 35 less? That means it's going to, week 3 would need to be 190. I don't think so. Week 3 is definitely not 190. So just by reasonableness, we know it's not going to be this one, but let's just make sure. And that's 120. It's actually bigger. So it's not less. It should be bigger anyways. So there you go. Pretty tricky problem, but our answer is C. All right, 17. Ooh, a nice 7th grade problem here. Maya has 120 caramel apples to sell. Each caramel apple is covered with 1 topping. How many caramel apples are covered with sprinkles? And it looks like we're going to have to do a lot of subtraction or add and then subtract to figure out how many are covered with sprinkles, because it says the rest are covered with sprinkles. So we need to figure out how many are not covered with sprinkles and then subtract that from 120. So how many are not covered with sprinkles? All right. Well, there's a lot of ways you can do this. I'm actually going to go ahead and add up all the fractions and then figure out how many were not covered with sprinkles and go that route. But there's a lot of routes you can do here. So we have 1/5 plus 1/3 plus 3/10. I'm not going to change these to decimals because 1/3 is a pretty icky decimal, but you could change these to decimals and do it that way. So it'd be 0.2 plus 0.33 plus 0.3. But let's just keep it as fractions, see what it looks like. So 1/5, 1/3, 10. A common denominator here would be 30 because 3 times 10 is 30. 5 times 3 is 15. So yeah, I mean, all of those go into 30. I would just use all your factors of 10 and see what goes into it. So if I use 10, 3 wouldn't go into 10, so 10 wouldn't be a common denominator. If I use 20, 3 wouldn't go into it, so 20 wouldn't be a common denominator. So if I use 30, we know 3 goes into 30 because 3 times 10 is 30. And then we would know that 5 could go into it because 5 times 6 is 30. So we're going to do 30 as our common denominator. 30 is our common denominator. So hopefully you can do this in your head because these are all kind of basic, simple math facts. So in order to get from 5 to 30, I would need to multiply by 6. So I'm going to do 1 times 6 and get 6 over 30. So this is times 6 here. If I wanted to get from 3 to 30, I'd do times 10. So this is going to be times 10, 1 times 10, which is 10 over 30. And if I wanted to get from 10 to 30, it'd be times 3. So that would be 3 times 3, which is 9. And then finally, I have 6 plus 10 plus 9, and keep my denominator. So it looks like 25. 25 over 30. And we want to know how many out of 120. Because there are 120 caramel apples. Okay? So in order to figure out my proportion here, I'm going to need to multiply by 4 to get to 120. And obviously 4 times 25, that's basically 4 quarters, which is 100. But this is how many are covered with stuff. So peanuts, chocolate chips, coconut, 100 of them are covered with those. So this is just one way to do it. You could do each one individually. So you could do 1/5 of 120, 1/3 of 120, 3/10 of 120. That might actually be faster. Just depends on your level at adding fractions. But this is just one of many ways to do it. If 100 are covered with these things, that would mean 20 are not. So 120 minus 100 is 20. So here's the not covered with sprinkles. I'm sorry, covered with sprinkles. 100 are covered with stuff not sprinkled. So not covered with sprinkles is going to be 20 out of 100. So 20. So 20. There we go. Number 17, pretty tricky one. Good old 7th grade. All right, number 18. On Wednesday, 72% of the customers who bought gas at a gas station made additional purchases. There were 250 customers who bought gas. How many of these 250 customers made additional purchases? So if we were to make our table here and make our units, we're looking for how many out of the total. So remember, this is my total. So that's going to be my total. Total customers made additional purchases. So I'm just going to label that AP, additional purchases. It looks like 72% of the customers who bought gas at the gas station made additional purchases. So that's going to be my 72 over 100. That's my percent. And it tells us that 250 customers bought the gas. So 250 is my total. And we're looking for how many made additional purchases. So that's going to be my part of my whole. Now, we don't see any relationships yet, but I'm sure if I divide 100 by 2, I'd get something that works because 50 goes into 250. Both of these are even, so I can divide both of these by 2. 72 divided by 2 is 36. If you're not sure how I found that, just divide it out if you can't do that in your head. 100 divided by 2 is 50. And once again, if you can't do that in your head, just divide it out somewhere to the side there. Now you should be able to see the relationship. 250 is 5 times bigger than 50. So I'm going to figure out what is 5 times bigger than 36. So I'm going to multiply that by 5. So 36 times 5. And that gives me 180. So 180 customers made additional purchases. 180 customers, which makes sense because it's 72%, which is pretty big. All right, number 19. What decimal is equivalent to the sum of 2/5 and 1 3/4? Record your answer and fill in the bubbles on your answer document. Be sure to use the correct place value. Well, don't worry about the answer document part, but it looks like 2/5. These are both benchmark fractions, so I'm going to change them to decimals. But let's say you didn't know that. You can multiply it by 2 over 2, and that would give you 4/10. That is pretty obvious. So 4/10. 3/4 is 0.75. So we have a benchmark fraction there, and that's why you do your builder so much, so you can minimize these. So that's 1.75. So now we're going to add these, because we're looking for the total of our sum. Remember, sum means to add. So let's go ahead and add these up. Make sure you line your decimal place values up. And there you go. Our final answer is 2 15/100. Number 20. The frequency table below shows the results of a survey asking students about their favorite type of music. Which statement below accurately describes the data in the table? All right, so more than 75% of students prefer alternative or hip-hop music. Alternative or hip-hop music, so we're going to be adding those. So 31, that or means to add them. Hip-hop is 45. 31 plus 45, we can do in our head, that's 76. So in order for us to figure out if that is more than 75%, we need to figure out the total. So let's go ahead and add all of them up. 31, 45, and 13. Looks like it's going to be 100, but let's just double check. 4, 5, and it looks like it's 100. So if it's 76 out of 100, that is 76%. Which is more than 75%. Let's prove the other ones wrong, just in case. 40% of students surveyed prefer hip-hop. No, if it's out of 100, hip-hop is 45 out of 100, which is 45%. So that one's wrong. Should be 45%. The mode of the data is alternative music. No, the mode would actually be hip-hop. Remember, mode is the one that occurs the most. More than 25% of students prefer country or rock music. Country is 11. Rock music is 13. That's 24 out of 100. So 24%. So that one's wrong. And there you have it. Our answer is A. Number 21, a house painter mixed 5 gallons of blue paint with every 9 gallons of yellow paint in order to make a green paint. Which ratio of gallons of blue paint to gallons of yellow paint will make the same shade of green paint? All right, so we are looking for a ratio of blue paint to yellow paint. So when we make our ratio table here, it's going to be blue to yellow. And let's figure out our given here. We have 5 gallons. 5 gallons of blue. And we have 9 of yellow. So 5 to 9. All right. And that's to get a shade of green. So we're just basically looking for a ratio that works. So we're just going to try one at a time and see if they work. If I try 30 over 54, 30 over 54 is going to be times 6. This one's going to be times 6. So would that ratio work? Absolutely. Absolutely. 6 over 10 would not work. 6 over 10 would not work. 10 over 45, if I were to do 10 over 45, you'll see that this one's times 2, and this one is times not 2, times 4.5. So those aren't the same ratio there. And then 27 over 15 wouldn't even make sense because 27 is bigger than 15, and blue is not bigger than yellow. So there you have it. Our answer is A. All right, number 22. 25 trees can make 1,125 reams of copier paper. What rate best represents the relationship between the reams of copier paper and the trees? So we're looking for a rate. So a rate is simple, we just divide them. But we want to go copy of paper to trees. So copy paper and trees. So we're going to be doing 1,125. We're going to be dividing whichever one's first there. So 1,125 divided by 25. Looks like 25 goes into 112 4 times, that's 100. 125 here, which is 5. Now comes the tricky part. Is it A or is it C? Well, let's see, which one makes sense? We know that there's more copier paper than trees. So let's see, 45 trees per ream of copier paper? No. I mean, that wouldn't make sense because there's only 25 trees total. So there won't be more trees for every one piece of copier paper. That doesn't make sense. So our answer would be C, because that's just the logical one anyways. 45 reams of copier paper for each tree. When we only have 25 trees, it can't be 45 trees.